Welcome to Meldon Law Monday. I'm Buddy Martin. The program tonight we feature Shane Matthews, the quarterback from the host of Pot Up with Matthews. He'll be joining us in just a moment from the Orange and Blue Room. Scott Carter's got a few thoughts on Saturday's game, don't we all? What do you think? Did Billy do enough? Pretty impressive performance. We've got Franz Beard reporting in from the basketball game where the Gators are trailing, I'm told, by 12. And then we'll have a report from Rob Browne, SEC sideline. Stay tuned. It's all coming your way right now on the program we call The Buddy Martin Show, because that's me. And I'm here most every night, tonight, right here on this channel.
For Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind, because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. Some weekend, lots going on tonight. Lady Gators winning pretty handily. I'm told by Shane that the Gator men's basketball team is getting whomped in Jacksonville, where Franz Beard is. He'll check in later. And I can't wait to talk to Shane about what he saw and the outcome of the game and the way the quarterbacks played and how he feels about things now, or if he feels any different. We'll talk about that a lot tonight because it's the subject of everybody's mind. The news today, Napier is saying that the injury to DJ Lagway is not season-ending, and he could play as soon as this weekend. Is that a good idea? I don't know. Get your thoughts on that, and then we'll hear from Rob Browne, SEC sidelines as well. So that's right now. Let's go up to the Orange and Blue Room and talk to our good friend, the host of the very popular Pot Up with Matthews show. That would be him. Ensconced in his usual Monday night football game. Is Peyton and Eli on tonight, Shane?
They are.
Well, I tell you what, you need to get a job with them so you can travel with them and do that show, much as you love it. I know.
It's such a good show.
By the way, the Buccaneers leading the Kansas City Chiefs last time I looked. Is that still the score?
Yeah, but the Chiefs are getting ready to score. They're on like the 2-yard line.
Okay. Well, Shane, just for a second, look away from that TV and talk to me about what we saw this weekend. I'm not going to make any comments about it being a transformative game. I'm not going to say anything whether it was a referendum on Billy's job or not. I know what I saw with my eyes. You know what you saw with your eyes. And a lot of conversations about it today. And I don't think anybody wants to give Billy any sympathy votes, nor does he want them. But I ask you, was the team we saw on the field Saturday different than the team we've been seeing in a so way? I think we know how. And how impressed were you with DJ Lagway?
Well, first, I'll just tell you what I thought about the game. I thought we played really hard. I thought the defense has improved dramatically. I personally feel the game was close because of the 3 interceptions Carson Beck threw. They still had, stats sometimes don't tell it all or whatever, but they almost had 500 yards of offense. The first half was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. We had like 70 yards of offense and we're leading the game 10-3 at the half, and they had like 200 something. So, look, take nothing away. Like you said, we got turnovers. that was the keys to my game. My one of the three keys to the game to me is we had to have multiple turnovers to stay in the game. I thought we played really well. Obviously DJ made a good throw on the touchdown after the interception. Great play call, great design by Billy Napier. But people say we would have won the game at DJ. I don't know. DJ struggled other than the one throw. He threw a couple balls on the intermediate routes into trouble, but he could have lit it up in the second half, or if he didn't get hurt, or he could have thrown a couple interceptions. You just have to go out what you see, and we're a better football team, but I still don't know where we are. Are we? People want to know: are we getting closer to Georgia? I say yes, but I watched every game in the SEC last Saturday. I think every team is getting closer to Georgia and Alabama now, and I think a lot of that has to do with the transfer portal.
Yeah, but the eye test is what you got to go by, and you have an experienced eye, and to some degree I do, and I'm really trying to be objective about it and not go overboard. I didn't know how I felt about it until I finally got into it and began to realize that one player was having such a huge impact on this team. It wasn't just DJ, but you could tell the confidence the team exuded when he was in there. And to watch them go through that game and lose so many players, so many starters, both corners and running back, and had so many players hurt, and never flinched one time and kept coming at Georgia. I think Georgia got more than it bargained for to get it to 23. Who'd have thought after all those players going out, it could come down to be 20-20. And of course, it was the touchdown pass. Carson Beck finally woke up from a slumber. But it took a bad snap on a field goal try, which is unfortunate because Rocco Underwood has snapped the ball pretty well all year. They really kind of did him in, and of course the interception at the end, and the Yaley kid who got a lot of kudos. So overall, my summation, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it till I got to the end. And I won't press you on this, but when you say anything about Florida has not really identified another coach yet. At least I don't think they have. I haven't. B, there's that $26 million buyout still hanging over their head. C, starting over is such a almost destructive thing to go back to it again. How many times can you keep firing your coach? And unless you can do better and substantially better, maybe Billy deserves another look. Now, that was my conclusion. I've gotten people tell me I was senile and soft and whatever. That's fine, whatever. Me, I'm going to tell you what I think. That's my take on it. Now, am I enough? Is it enough for me want to campaign for Billy to get the job? No, I just say what I think and what I see. Can you give me a better scenario? Give me somebody you'd hire right now to make a difference, remembering the great Jimbo Fisher experiment at Texas A&M.
Well, again, I'm not the one going to make these decisions. And, it's a tough decision because, he's coached 33, 34 games or whatever, still way under 500. And has the team played hard for him? Yes, they have. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is. I think the two best teams after Saturday in the SEC are Ole Miss and South Carolina. It changes week to week because
it does change. I want to bring this up because we talked about it hundreds of times all year long and last year, that what's going to happen when you get in the demolition derby at the SEC, the residual impact of these guys playing these games is going to come down to, in the end, how many bodies you have left. And tonight I heard Sarkisian talking on that show that he does. He did tonight with Roman and the other guy about the plays he called, and he said it several times. He said, I think what's going to make a difference is basically the mental outlook. It said physical is important, but mental is just as important. And if you can keep it together mentally and keep your focus, you have a chance. So it is happening right before our eyes as we predicted that it would, because this is tough now. It's going to be hard. And who knows yet what's going to happen at the end. I mean, it's not yet impossible for Florida to win a game over somewhere along the way and get into a showdown game with FSU. Likelihood is less now. On the other hand, they're playing a lot better football than I thought they'd be playing at this point in time, especially against Georgia. So I don't know. Am I being overly optimistic?
Probably, but that's what you feel. Look, I think Texas is outstanding. I think offensively they're going to be very, very good. I think Ole Miss might be the best offense in the league, could be in the country.
515 yards that he threw for and 6 touchdowns. Is that what?
Yeah, he's a tremendous deep ball thrower, Jackson Dart is, and he's just and then LSU's got Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, I think they're a pretty good team. So, look, like I said, after Saturday, when you go week to week in the SEC, I thought Ole Miss and South Carolina looked like the best 2 teams in the conference. But that'll change next Saturday. There's no dominant team in college football in today's world. I don't think Ohio State's very good. I don't think Oregon's that good, even though they're undefeated, number 1 in America. So I think the 12-team playoff is going to be like the National Football League. You have no idea who's going to win.
I agree, and that's what everybody's saying right now. Listen to all the experts are saying that it's beginning to show up now that the transfer portal has taken away from the depth of these teams that usually were 3 and 4 deep. Now they're not, and that they're not going to have that roster full of people they need to count on to get them through. So I don't know, but I just say, let me ask you this: from the standpoint of Florida football and the standpoint of the team, are they better now than they were 3 or 4 weeks ago? We know the defense is a whole lot better. Is this a team that's on the rise, or is this a one-hit wonder?
I mean, we still have 4 games left to see. Look, they're definitely a better football team, but I mean, I go back to, I think a lot of teams can sit there and say we're better than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's a bottom line business, buddy. You got to win games.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think they will?
No, I think they have. Look, we don't have I don't think we can beat anybody with Aiden at quarterback because he's not experienced. They're going to have to put a plan together that he's comfortable with. I think he's a good little player, but you're talking about 3 teams coming up that are 3 of the best. I mean, you can say what you want to say about LSU, but Ole Miss and Texas are outstanding football teams.
No question about it. And Georgia was too. Do you think Georgia's still the second best team?
I do not, after watching them.
Okay, so you think why Carson Beck or why?
Yes. I just, I talked to Eric Zier, who does what I do for them before the game and at halftime. And he mentioned to me, Beck had thrown, I think it's now in the last 3 straight SEC games, he's thrown 8 interceptions. And a lot of people are wondering, they want to see Gunnar Stockton, their backup. But Carson Beck's making over $3 million driving a Lamborghini.
Yeah. Yeah. And if whoever, let's say Graham Mertz, had thrown 9 interceptions in 3 weeks, he'd be benched.
Well, I don't know if he'd be benched. He'd be booed. People be bitching on your show. And the Georgia fans are. But I think he better play better this week or they will lose. They play Ole Miss.
Yeah. Ole Miss's defense is better than I thought they were.
It's pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah. And their offense is really starting to crank it up right now. Looking around the rest of the league, who else do you see? LSU's Nussmeier's good, but they're not consistent yet, especially on defense. We know about Texas and we know about Georgia. We still don't know about a couple other teams. Texas A&M seems like they've some luster's worn off on them now. So I don't know. There's still a lot of things that can happen to change the landscape of this league in the next few weeks, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, A&M walked into a buzzsaw. I mean, they're coming off that high win against LSU, staying undefeated in the conference. And then they play at South Carolina, a night game, which is always tough, but South Carolina's was coming off a bye week. And South Carolina's got a tremendous defense, not great offensively, but their quarterback played really, really well. He struggled for the most part this year. That's why, I think the best teams in the league change week to week.
They got those edge rushers in South Carolina. I got to tell you, Shane Beamer's coaching better than I thought he would. I'm surprised. I didn't think they had it in them, but they certainly are. And they have the crowd going, man. The crowd's
they have lost 3 games, so
yeah. Well, they're not going to be a frontline team that gets to the championship game, but they are making noise and they can knock some teams off. So, coming up a little later, we'll talk to Shane. We'll talk to Scott Carter about the quarterback situation. What he thought about that. We'll follow the basketball game. Now 38-37 South Florida. Kind of area playing against a team who just lost their coach from a heart attack there. So were you surprised today when the press conference came aboard and Billy said that he thinks there's a possibility that he could be playing soon? Would that surprise you?
Yeah, I think that's just gamemanship.
You don't think he will?
I've pulled my hamstring. I've been around multiple people that pull their hamstring, and I don't know anybody that's come back before 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, it certainly doesn't seem. I wonder if I question the wisdom of it against a team like Texas. If you're going to sit him, here's the other thing. How many games has he played? Could he still redshirt?
No, he's played in every game.
Okay. Yeah. Well, ETN didn't have a great night after all, huh?
No, he got hurt, so he didn't play that much. They got their true freshman running back's pretty good. They got kid number 3 from California. He's a good player.
But he got up and punched somebody, and they didn't call it. By the way, did you hear about the eye black that ETN was wearing? The controversy on it?
I did not.
Yeah, apparently he had on his eye black "Shoot-'em," CHOOT. It's supposedly a tribute to an alligator hunting tour company from Louisiana, and it's featured on the show Swamp People. And somebody said, well, he certainly had plenty of time to show it off on the bench. But apparently that's from that Swamp People show, which I don't watch. Shoot, whatever. You got a shout out, Shane. And also you were talking about in your show, apparently, about Aiden and how he didn't have the ball prepared.
No, what I said was somebody on my show asked, it doesn't look like Aiden's got a good enough arm to play college football or something like that. And I told him that's not true. He throws a good ball. What people don't realize, because a couple of his throws, the ball didn't come off his hand real well. And I don't know if it's because he didn't have the grip and the starting quarterback gets to doctor the balls up. Some guys like brand new balls, some guys like beat up old balls. And, I don't know if that's the case. I was just talking that, I've never been around one quarterback, I think, that has not made sure of the 12 or 24 balls that are checked in or to their liking.
Yeah.
So I was just, and sometimes when the ball doesn't come out of your hand, it's because it's not a ball that you're comfortable with and you can't get a good grip on it. Yeah.
I want to get to this question from Andy in just a minute, but I wanted to say, you got a shout out from Napier today when they are asking him about in the press conference about getting a ball scuffed up, putting it aside, so on and so forth. When you made your comment, they said Shane Matthews mentioned on his show, and did you hear what Billy said?
Yeah, I did, because Edgar proposed the question to Billy about it because he heard it on my show.
Yeah,
and Coach Napier, he was a quarterback. He had balls that he preferred over others. Coach Spurrier used to make sure every ball that was checked in when I played was to his liking.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even playing because I don't think people realize it's how important it is to have the correct amount of air for you that you like and the grip and the ball broken in.
Yeah. Well, he said Shane Matthews is one of the best quarterbacks in the history of this program. So his opinion, he's played the game. He's had a helmet on. He's laced them up. I think there's something to it for sure. So giving you a little shout out. Okay. Shane, Andy McIntosh, one of your loyal listeners who's on your program every day, almost like a co-host, does a great job. Informational guy that he is. He says, can you ask Shane about the Hail Mary he threw for the Bears 23 years ago to help beat the Browns?
Yeah, that was on today. That was this day in Bears history or what have you. Yeah, we scored 2 touchdowns like a minute, 10 seconds to force overtime, and only Hail Mary I ever completed in my lifetime. And it worked to perfection. And the guy that actually caught it was the tailback who came out of the backfield and went to the right corner of the end zone, and the ball just tipped right to him. Worked perfectly.
Huh. Those are pretty when they do that. All right, what's with the turf? People complained about the Everbank Field turf.
I was on the turf before the game, like I go down to every field.
What was it?
It was fast track. They were mowing it while I was there with one of those mowers you see at a golf course.
I heard you say that on the air.
And the NFL signed off on it, which they're very specific about their playing surface. And last time I checked, Georgia played on it too.
Well, they had a couple of dings too. It did seem like there were several people that had problems.
There were some people slipping. I do know that.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe we didn't have the right cleats on.
Well, I went to the source, a guy who sees that turf, 20 times a year, Frank Franchi. I said, what's up with this Everbank turf? He said, the turf was totally fine. Jags and Backers played on it 6 days earlier. Not one slip. Was good all year. Georgia players never slipped. I don't think it's true. I think I saw them once or twice. UF players never slipped after the first quarter and changed, assuming after they changed their cleats. So anyway, that's what his take on it. So what you said. All right, talk to me about quarterbacks. If it can't be Lagway, and I can't see him playing a whole game, I don't know what he's capable of.
I will be extremely shocked if he plays again this year.
So what's your position on who they should play at quarterback?
Well, Aiden Warner, he's the next guy, and then Clay Millen. Huh?
What about Mellon?
Well, I'm sure he's going to get some reps.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to trust Billy, whoever he feels like they can run the system the best. I mean, it's not an ideal situation right now, but you got to make do and see what happens.
Yeah, and so here's the report, 247 report on Mellon, who did play earlier in the year. Boasts the arm strength, athleticism, and playmaking ability optimal for the position, makes the smart throws, plays in the context of his offense, but can make plays when out of rhythm and off platform, and isn't afraid to take a few risks with a little bit of a gunslinger mentality. Son of a former NFL quarterback, been around the game, understands concepts and coverages, loaded with physical upside, projects as a multi-year Power 5 starter and project as late as the second day or third day pick in the NFL. Now,
no,
that's what there was an evaluation of him. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. I take your word.
Yeah, well, with all due respect, Clay does not have an NFL arm. Aiden Warner has a better arm than Clay. Okay. I've seen him in practice, and y'all saw him play in the spring game. I think it was a spring game, right? Yeah. So I don't think that's valid at all. that had to have been maybe when they thought he was coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he has great mobility either. Yeah. And this is not a knock on the kid. I'm just going by my evaluation.
That's all I want. I mean, you're honest. You tell it like it is.
I think you possibly could see them both play.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't know what to expect out of this team now. I guess they had their moment of glory. So I still say, I'll say what I say again. What I saw convinces me that they need to give Billy another look. We'll see where he stands. There is improvement. Not a moral victory, but you have to have you have to be able to chart progress when you see it. We definitely saw progress on the defense completely. I mean, Piper's playing out of his mind. So they're tackling so much better to a point now when they miss a tackle, it's kind of a surprise. So I give them that. All right, so let me just do this real quick. I'll come back and put a touch on this. I want to tell folks about our fine sponsors, particularly Meldon Law. Tomorrow I'll be talking to Jeffrey Meldon about his plans for this all season and this fall. He's a big basketball fan too. I'm sure he's watching tonight. Jeffrey, of course, is a huge supporter of the University of Florida. They spent a lot of money supporting programs and have supported ours for a long time. We're very grateful. Meldon Law also has some good legal help. I've used it. I'm using it now. I've been very pleased with it. And if you need some help on that department, I highly encourage you, if you're in the Gainesville, Ocala area, Williston, Lake City, call Meldon Law, check them out, and they'll give you the right person. And like he says, he'll let you talk to a Meldon, not just some guy off the street. Meldon Law, they won't back down. And they are an official injury firm law partner for the University of Florida. Shane Matthews, he'll be back tomorrow morning on the Pot Up with Matthews, his enormously popular show. It's got a little more interesting, Shane, than it has been in the past. We thought the season was dead, and at least we have something to talk about. And what was the sentiment mostly today on your show about Billy?
I don't know if we really talked about Billy a whole lot. I think some people think he should get another year. Some people have seen enough. I think it's all going to come down to what Scott Strickland and the people that are in charge to make these decisions decide what to do.
I heard a disturbing, I hate to put it out there, but it came from a pretty good source through another source today, that the Gator basketball program has lost its sponsor for the arena. The Zach Tech Arena is no more. And so I don't know what that means exactly, but the guy who signed that deal up was Jeremy Foley. I'm sure we'll be hearing about that in the near future. Any thoughts on the basketball team?
Well, when I was watching earlier, we were down, but it's a long, basketball. You're going to have run games. It's a game of runs. So I expect us to win tonight, and I think a lot of people are optimistic and excited about them. I've heard nothing but good reports coming from practice. They play a ton of games. They'll probably lose 8 to 10 games, hopefully, not more than that, so they make the tournament.
What were they ranked? 16? Is that what they were ranked? I think
around 19, somewhere around there.
So they got Walter Clayton back. They got good players. They got tall players, that's for sure. I really like Condon a lot. And they got talent, and they got length. So it'll be fun to watch them and get their mind off football for a moment while we see if Florida can get that extra win and beat FSU and still get to a bowl game. It would be a successful year, Shane, if he did that, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be tough to find another win, though, outside of Florida State.
It is. It is going to be. But anyway, all right, Shane, tomorrow, who you got on the program?
You, buddy. And I have a couple other people just waiting to text back, so we'll see who they are.
All right. Well, how many years has that program been on?
We started like 2 weeks before COVID hit, so whenever COVID started.
Here's the official word from Freddie Wiebe. Exact Tech filed for bankruptcy will restructure and go back strong. An arena will keep its name. Well, there you go. Thank you, Freddie. That keeps us updated. That we know people. We have people who have answers on these two programs, folks. Shane, thank you so much. I'll talk to you in the morning, and let's have some fun with these last 4 games. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
All right. The great Shane Matthews. We'll get back to. Let's see. I think we've got Fran's Beard up. Look at this. What timing? There he is. Hey, Franz, can you hear me? Hello, Franz. Can you hear me? Hi, Franz.
Trying to get somewhere where I can hear.
Okay. All right. We'll wait for you. Coming to Jacksonville, the arena, halftime up there. We'll get the information from Franz here. See what he's got going on. I watched a little of the basketball game. I know you can't hear me very well. I don't have the halftime score, but they were struggling.
Hang on a second. I'm going to be somewhere where I can hear now.
I got you. I'll come back and get you whenever you're ready. And then we got Scott Carter around the corner weighing in on the whole situation with the quarterbacks.
All right. I think I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Well, what did we just see?
What's that?
What did we just see? First half.
Well, the first half, the typical first game, a lot of sloppy play early on. But they kind of caught on there toward the last 5 minutes. They'll be all right in the second half. Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard, once they got going, the Gators came back. They were down 13 points. They're down 1 at the half. They're going to be really good in the second half. This is a really good team. A really good team, and they're going to get better as the season goes. Let me throw a piece of football news in there for people.
All right.
Actually basketball news. Exact Tech, which sponsors, has the naming rights to the arena. Exact Tech has filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah. Freddie Weeby has a post up there right now saying Exact Tech filed for bankruptcy and will restructure and will be back strong and will be the title sponsor for the arena.
Well, it's an interesting thing that's going on there, and there's a lot of people, buddy, who are feeling that it's time. Their sponsorship deal is really, really cheap to begin with, and there's a lot of people who believe that it's time to cut the cord with these guys, get somebody in who is a bit more committed and willing to spend more financially. So that's going to be interesting.
I know you have good sources and you talk to someone who knows about that. I trust what you say. But Freddie did say, and he's pretty well versed in it, they're going to keep their sponsorship, but that might not last. You don't know.
Well, I figure they'll probably keep their sponsorship this year, but after that, I don't know.
Yeah.
DJ Lagway, that's huge.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt he plays a down against Texas.
That's what Shane just said. Same thing.
I think the most important thing that happened with this was I think they wanted to make Texas practice as if he's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, changes the things around a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see Clay Millen get some snaps Saturday.
Yeah.
He's got a better arm. He's got 10 starts in his career. Dad was an NFL quarterback, so he knows the game.
Right.
So anyway, I think that it's been a good day altogether for the Florida Gators, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm surprised to hear. A good story about Franz. If you haven't read it, go log on to GatorBait.com and read his pieces today. Meanwhile, he's got basketball to cover tonight. Got to get him back to the game. Give us a good report on what's going on there. And let's shift into basketball here. And
all right, let me throw a couple things at you.
Go ahead.
Alex Condon is going to be an absolute stud this year. And when I mean stud, he's going to be it's going to be hard to keep him after next year because I think he's probably going to play himself into the first round. Walter Clayton Jr. obviously can shoot. Will Richard obviously can shoot. We got some players. Don't read anything into this is going to be close, but don't read anything into it because the Gators are going to be good. All right?
Okay.
Got to rumble.
All right, Franz. Thanks very much for checking in. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
See you tomorrow. Franz Beer checking in from Jacksonville and letting us know what's going on there. And we'll talk with him again later in the week. Don't forget to read his stuff. He's about the best basketball writer around these days, and you want to be sure to catch that. All right, let's get back to the subject of football. We'll be hearing from probably Rob Browne shortly at some point in time about what's going on with him. But we had a chance to talk to Scott Carter today. Before I go to Scott, I want to tell you about our fine sponsors. We're very fortunate on this program to have some really frontline sponsors and people that have been very loyal and supportive. And one of them is the folks, of course, we mentioned earlier, Meldon Law and TitanMRI.com, where you hear so much about people getting MRIs these days. There's a lot of it going on. And if you have to get one, well, you'll know because they have a customized experience for you where they'd like you to come and try them and find out what it's about. When they say, look, can't get up here in time because you have to you have to work and you can't get off. Well, we'll make it easier for you. We'll make you an appointment midweek or at night or weekends to accommodate you to get up here. And they, of course, are in the north central Florida area around the Gainesville, Lake City, Ocala. Also, if you have any issues with your insurance coverage and right now you don't have the coverage for that, they'll take your cash in card at a reasonable price and get you your MRI as well. Also, we know it's not fun sometimes for some of us who wind up getting in one of those things, MRIs, getting a tight squeeze and getting a little bit claustrophobic. They're aware of that too. They want you to know that they're aware of it. And I want to make your visit and your experience as comfortable as possible. So check them out. Go to TitanMRI.com and find out how you can get a customized experience for an MRI. Meanwhile, well, Scott Carter. Well, it was some weekend and some game in Jacksonville, and I know that Gator fans got excited about the effort put forth by the coach. And now the question is, did he do well enough to survive? And nobody really knows. But a guy who's seen it all, done it all, been there and watched it, Scott Carter from the University of Florida, FloridaGators.com, joins the program again. Scott, it was a compelling game. And I think the consensus is, at least among Gator fans, had DJ Lagway not gotten hurt, Florida would have beaten Georgia.
It certainly looked like that was a real possibility, buddy. I mean, I'm sitting there in the press box thinking to myself, well, this game is going a lot of ways that I didn't see, starting with really the Florida turnovers. They Carson Beck 3 interceptions. Lagway has that really nice touchdown. Then they had a field goal, and they're winning there in the first half, and you could tell the confidence from the Florida team was growing by each possession. And the defense, I thought, was really doing a nice job. And then, of course, we all know what happened with DJ, and just such an unfortunate turn of events. I think I wrote something like, I don't think the Gator fans have had a collective knot in their stomach since probably that Tebow hit in 2009 against Kentucky, where everybody it just took really the wind out of the sails. And I credit the Gators a lot with hanging in there because I thought the game would turn pretty fast in Georgia's favor, and it really didn't. Even though it did in the second half for the Gators to still tied at 20 with Aiden Warner in at quarterback, a guy who was at Yale last year, I thought, yeah, it's a loss, and you've heard Billy Napier say it. You've heard several players say it this week already. There are no moral victories. I get it, but I do think it was a showing that the Gators can be proud of and build on. And it looks like that's just where they are, buddy. There's, they're 4-4. They're still trying to fight for their bowl life, and they have 4 games left to try to win 2. And with the way they've been playing lately, I think it's possible, even maybe with the backup quarterback, third stringer.
Well, the good news came out today that DJ Lagway's issue is not season ending. Yes. Now, what that means, we won't know until Wednesday when Billy tells us the status of things. There's also some talk about other quarterbacks, Mellon being one, coming to the picture. And, of course, certainly the kid from Yale, I mean, he's to be commended, and Billy praised him a lot coming in like he did Cole as a third-string quarterback, and can't throw it that well. But I liked his spirit, and he was pretty calm. It seems like the players, liked him and what they said about him. Thing is about it, what's a shame is that they were running the ball on Georgia. They were playing good defense in Georgia. It seems like that he could Lagway was finding open receivers, and that touchdown pass was a beauty, So this could be that night. And even at halftime, at the end of the third quarter, it was in play, 20-20. It took a bad snap to kind of bust it wide open. Unfortunately, Rock Underwood had a bad snap. He's had good snaps all year. He just made a bad one. I don't know what happened on the ball. But, and then again, I guess the other thing is not looking for moral victories. There's a difference between a moral victory and a progress report.
Yeah.
A moral victory is when you win a game that you weren't supposed to upset. When your team is getting better, and clearly if you had any eyes to see, you can tell this team is better, especially on defense. And you see a young quarterback who, look, who knows how far they can go with DJ Lagway. And then you throw in the running backs they got, a certain ball a guy I've liked for a long time. And they just and their defense got people off the field. That was the thing. Yeah. So I'm not going to go overboard and say, oh, yeah, give him a new contract, whatever. But I think if you're smart and you know what the resources are and what you have to pay to get rid of a coach and who you're going to find and who that would be, who could come in here and do all this. And sure, it's possible. You ought to give pause because you and I have been through a few of these. This is not our first coach execution. We've seen a lot of them. So I don't know. I think it was unfortunate for the players and for Billy. He just had that buzzer's luck. So now what are you hearing and what are you thinking is going to happen at the quarterback position this week? Will we see Mellon taking snaps? How do you think it's going to play out? And do you think there's a pretty good chance we're going to get to see Lagway at some point?
Well, I think, Billy did say he's not ruled Lagway out even this week. I'm kind of, I'll believe it when I see it because I've seen these hamstrings. I know to return that quickly would be very surprising to me. So I fully expect Aiden Warner to go into Texas as a starter, Clay Millen as the backup. And if DJ can get back out there and get moving and get loosened up, maybe get him back for one of these home games against LSU or Ole Miss and see if they can win that and then go beat Florida State. So the fact that he's even in the conversation, buddy, of returning, quite frankly, when I woke up this morning, I knew they had an MRI yesterday. They got the results Sunday night. I wasn't expecting to hear anything other than, he's out for a significant period of time. So, that's a positive. But, we saw a little bit of Aiden Warner, obviously, earlier in the year against Samford. He had a touchdown run. Then he came in against Kentucky. And then, of course, we saw him on a larger scale against Georgia. It's obvious, like you said, I thought the players responded to him. They obviously liked him or like him. He looked like he had some presence about him. He's obviously, you gotta be nervous there if you're him. We didn't talk to him after the game. He was unavailable. But he can play better than what we saw. At the same time, Clay Millen's a guy who's got more experience. I think he started 10 games 2 years ago at Colorado State. He was warming up there late in the fourth quarter. I was wondering if they were going to go to him. He decided to stick with Warner. But if Warner struggles at Texas Saturday and if he starts, and the offense, is sputtering along, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Millen as well, buddy. There's nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah.
So as that's just where the quarterback situation is. I mean, it's amazing when we're here, a couple of days after the Georgia game, and if you told me, it's amazing how we talk about this stuff all the time, buddy, before the season, all summer, and everybody thinks they got an idea of what's going to happen. No one really knows anything, and the road to these places we get to. If you told me 3 months ago that Georgia and Florida was going to play, and Florida would be without its best receiver, its best running back, its 2 top quarterbacks. I mean, they got no chance.
And it's 2 corners, by the way.
Yeah, it's 2 quarters. They've got no chance to hang with Georgia, and yet they made it a really interesting game. So that's partly why I love sports. It's so unpredictable. That's why it gets the TV ratings it does. Nobody really knows.
I want to see Aiden Warner throw to Aiden Mizell. I want the Aiden connection like we had the Kyle. Remember that?
That's right, man. Need something to get into the end zone like they did with Aiden Mizell with DJ Lagway. So maybe they'll find that recipe on Saturday at Texas. But the one thing I do like, buddy, is we're seeing this improvement that you talked about, and it's really almost all young players. And I think that's obviously a promising development for the future. So that's one positive that's come out of this last stretch.
I will say comportment does matter, whether you want to say it doesn't or not, but how players conduct themselves on and off the field, and their response, the players' response to the coaches being coached and getting better and listening to what they're being told. It tells me there's a really strong coaching element there that that is working now. Now, I know a lot of people have called me senile and an idiot, whatever, for saying that they ought to give another look. And I put a tweet out about it yesterday or today, and I got a few guys hammering me. I don't think what you want to, but I have been around this game a little bit. I've seen these rodeos from a long time ago. You want to go back to Bob Woodruff? I can take you back there. I know how they can play out. And, the sure things that you think of the sure things. I mean, Jimbo Fisher was supposed to win 1,000 games at A&M, made more money than anybody else, the greatest recruiting class of all time. He got fired. So it isn't like you can go out to the store and say, give me one of those, and I give you my checkbook and write whatever you want. It doesn't work that way. So it was an exciting game. It really was. Now you think about DJ playing against Texas, and you think, you don't want to see him go out there and get hammered, whatever, in that game. But hey, they're going to put the ball down, as Billy said. They're going to play it in Austin. We're going to see what happens. We all thought there would be if you said what happened to this team and who they lost, and you think by the fourth quarter it had been 58-0, with Georgia. And it turns out it was a heck of a ball game, and it came down to the end. So there you go. So, and by the way, if you took the points, you made money, 14.5, right? So there is that too. So
got in under it.
On the wire, exactly. So, well, the football season is winding down. We'll see. Basketball season underway. I can't wait to see how the story turns out. I want to see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, this next 4 games, it is going to be very interesting. There's a lot at stake for Billy Napier. I think for Florida football in general. It's very rare where you go through a season like this. It's happened before at Florida, obviously in recent years, but man, it just started right away with the Miami loss and the doom. I mean, it was a doom and gloom those first 3 games when they're sitting there at 1-2, getting hammered by A&M and Miami. And then slowly, they got that bye week. They beat UCF. They beat us. They got another win. They close at Tennessee. Didn't get whipped Kentucky. It's just been a roller coaster ride, buddy. That's the only way I can describe it. And here we are, 4 games left, and you feel like nothing much is going to change. I think it's still probably going to be a little bit of a roller coaster to the end. The question is, can Florida get bowl eligible in these last 4 games? Can they have a chance at a winning record, by going to a bowl game and maybe finishing 7-6. Those are signs of progress that I think will be very good for Billy Napier and the future. If you don't reach that, well, all bets are off. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard a lot of stuff as you have.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of dynamic. There's a lot of. It's almost like there's more players than usual around Florida when there's a time for maybe a coaching change. So it's just going to be very interesting to see where it all lands. But I'm obviously rooting for Billy Napier. I'd like to see him get another shot. I do believe that they have made some significant progress. I see the culture part of it internally. I know that that's a good locker room. I think fans are seeing it on the field by them continuing to fight. A lot of good players. I think there's a lot of good young players. But again, I'll always say what's going to be the final line, and it's always going to be the one-loss record. You've got to get better, and we'll see if that can happen in these next 4 weeks.
Scott Carter, he's been around the program a long time. He knows a lot about football. I'll ask you this final question, let you go, Scott. Thanks for being on the program. It's said by people, including Billy, that this team is not backbiting, not criticizing, not finger pointing, going through this, that they're conducting themselves like gentlemen, and the locker room was very healthy. Are you picking up on that, or are you hearing other things?
I've seen it. I mean, I don't see, bad guys in that locker room. I don't hear bad things in the building. It maybe, I know you'll see stuff about, has this guy opted out or has that guy opted out? Until they play, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't know. I mean, there's some couple of hurt guys like Eugene Wilson and Montrell Johnson Jr. I know people are wondering about. I don't know what their plans are for the rest of it.
All right, thanks very much, Scott Carter. Appreciate his contributions. We're going to go back into the orange and blue room now and see if our roving reporter, Rob Browne, is still there. I'm not sure if Rob hears me or not. Rob, are you there? Hello, Rob. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
I'm here.
You're traveling in the shadows. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if the audio is bad, I'll have to bail. I don't want to mess up the show.
No, you're okay. You're good. You're on. You're okay. On. And talk to us. You went to the Memphis Touchdown Club tonight. What'd you see and what'd you hear?
Interesting. We had the general manager of Alabama football, Courtney Morgan, was the speaker. It was very revealing about, he's been with Kalen DeBoer since back at Fresno and Washington. And he has talked about what it's like being at Alabama and just how helpful Nick Saban has been. He goes, he's there. He's like, look, if you need something, come see me. But basically, it's general manager is now the guy that is going to have to deflect all that stuff so the coaches can actually coach. So it's the world we live in. But really interesting to hear the stories about how they rank players, and I'm sure this is the same situation at every college in America, is that you cannot take, they want high character, high impact athletes, especially if they're going in the portal. Low character, low impact, they're not even going to bother with them. So it's a lot like the NFL draft process. I think that's what I learned tonight, probably more than anything. And I know Florida Victorious is a very, very stacked program, and every school's got them. And if you don't have an NIL program and a general manager, director of operations, you're going to fall so far behind. You're going to be irrelevant forever if you don't watch it. And everybody thought Clemson had turned the corner till they played a decent team. Whatever Dabo's been doing, if he doesn't change, he's going to go the way of the dodo bird.
He, of course, is trying to do it without using the portal too much. That's when he does that, people hail him as being a genius. When he doesn't, it work. Like it certainly didn't work out last week. That's for sure. They did not look like a good football team. By the way, basketball game right now. Florida Gators leading over South Florida in Jacksonville, opening game of the year. There's 12 minutes to go. Florida just went behind 1 point, 60-59. We'll give you that update before we go off the air. Rob Browne from SEC Sidelines on the show with us tonight. Thank you, Rob, for taking the time on your trip back from Memphis. Heard you part of your show today. Good show Rob has every morning. Talking to Coach Johnson about his views. You're getting quite a varied group of guests there. And what you got planned for the rest of the week on your show?
Got a lot. Tomorrow morning, we will start off with Big Ben Troop. We'll be on bat and lead off tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, followed by Will Gunter out of Columbia, South Carolina, 107.5 The Game. They're doing a lot over there at South Carolina. Shane Beamer's got some linemen, and that's one of the things they talked about tonight is those kids are both, their two top defensive linemen are both from Washington, D.C. Said in the past, they'd have been at Penn State or Ohio State, or in the SEC, they'd have been at Alabama. Now they're both at South Carolina. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. What's going on with Lane Kiffin? Big one coming up against Georgia Saturday. And then, of course, we'll get into Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, talking about Alabama. They got a big one with LSU this weekend. We will talk about all 16 SEC teams, part of this great channel here with executive producer extraordinaire Brendan Martin, who learned from the master. Yeah, you have. I bet you have.
He told me how to do work in this business. Yeah, so that's good. Now look, I just got off with Shane Matthews. He told me, he said he didn't think Georgia's the best team in the league anymore. And he says he's talking about the early risers now, the guys like LSU and Ole Miss and Texas now that he thinks might be as good or better than Georgia. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my preseason, and you and I talked about it, and Brendan, all summer. My preseason top four in the SEC: Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Missouri. And I will not be surprised if Georgia and Ole Miss don't play in Atlanta for the SEC championship. Shane Matthews is one of the smartest football guys anywhere. I mean, he's so good. People say he knows the play before they run it as a color analyst on the Gator Network with Sean Kelly. But it's hard to argue with him. But, I still think Georgia's the best team because they went on the road and manhandled what was perceived to be the best team in the country, Texas. And Texas did not like getting hit like that. And I'm going with Georgia as the best team in the conference right now. If you had to pick a second best team, I'd say Ole Miss because their defensive front is so good and they're deep.
Yeah. All right. So now the question, of course, is Napier. Who knows if he'll survive or not? We got about a minute to go. My column, I said maybe it's time to give him another look at least. Let's see how he finishes the season because you don't have a guy yet. You don't have your guy, and it's going to cost you $26 million. There's no guarantee you'll keep Lagway. You got to at least give Billy another look. Who do you bring in? Brad English asked that question. And are you hearing any names or any kind around the league? I mean, you heard heard about Cignetti and Kiffin and Clint Kingsbury, so on and so forth. Who have you heard?
Well, you keep hearing the Kiffin deal, but that's living in Memphis. We always hear what Jimmy Sexton's going to get Lane Kiffin a raise either way. See Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. I don't see Rhett Lashley leaving SMU because who has more NIL money than SMU if they want it? I think Florida, and I've been critical of Napier. Everybody has, but you look at Florida and you expect more. I think Billy Napier is back because you can't keep doing these $26 million buyouts. It's the insanity has to stop. Mike Norvell's got a $64 million golden parachute. This is insane. Didn't we learn from Jimbo? Obviously not. But you've got DJ Lagway as the centerpiece of a football future at Florida, which in my opinion is extremely bright. You would be crazy to do anything that would run the risk of him leaving. I think he loves Florida. That's just my opinion. You've forgotten more than I know about it, and I'm going to go with what you say. I just wish Billy Napier would have a sit-down interview with you. That's like an American. That's like an American president not talking to Billy Graham in the day.
I can't help it much right now. But anyway, listen, I want to thank you for coming on last minute tonight.
Hey, man, I will do anything you ever ask me. You know that I love it. Love being on with the audience down there. Our shows are all one big happy family, and we're ready to roll in the morning, man. I'll be looking forward to any time you call.
And tomorrow night you got Rob, and the show will be hosted by Rob and Lauren, and tomorrow night. So listen, thank you, buddy. Travel safe. All right.
All right, thank you, man. Take care. Love it.
DC Sidelines, Rob Browne. He's the best. Appreciate him very much coming on tonight. And we thank him very much. All right, so folks, we're going to tell you, go off the air. By the way, the basketball game right now, Florida leads 63-60 with 10 minutes to go. And I want to tell you about our friends, very special friends over at hold on a second, Rob. I'll get you off here. Over at Red Star Medical Research, which is a company that does great diligence and is an outstanding member of our community in Ocala. They support many good things, including the Florida Gators, as a matter of fact. And Red Star has been around for a while. My good friends over there, among them are Mary Brantley, Scott Brantley's wife, and all the best props to Scott here. He's been under the weather. And Joe Sorrentino also supporting us, and we will thank them for what they do. We also want to tell you they're looking out after your health and mine, and you can help them if you can find a way to check out on redstar.net their clinical trials. They take their data from there, from you when you participate, and they send it off to get a better fit on the prescriptions that they have for people in the area, and the companies that subscribe to their service take that into consideration. I just encourage you, see if it fits for you. You can get compensated for your time of travel. Red Star Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you to our guest tonight, Shane Matthews, Scott Carter, Fran Spear checking in from out in the hinterlands. And, of course, you heard Rob Browne. Tomorrow night, don't forget, Lauren Meadows and the guys will be on. It'll be good. Check it out right here on the Buddy Martin Show. Good night, folks.